50 something, ain't no spring chicken, but Lordy mercy, still a lot of kicking. Got grandkids now, calling me Granny Sue. Life's a-changin', in a day and that much is true. Pissy Sue's here with stories to tell, laughing and crying ain't a bell. Menopause, retirement, and Jesus too. Join the party, what else you gonna do?
Hi, welcome back to the Pissy Sue Show. I'm Loretta, and I am the Pissy Sue Show. Happy Sunday, happy Super Bowl day. Praise God, today's his day. Every day should be his day though. But today in particular, I hope you all enjoyed your services or whatever you did for the Lord today. First off, I want to address the elephant in the room. My eye. I have this god-awful, you guys see it? Of course you see it. So I know it's here. I know what it is. It's a blood vessel. I'm on that GLP-1 and they upped my dose. It made me a little nauseous the other day. I vomited and they said with age and vomiting can come. It wasn't even like violently vomiting or anything. It was a little dry heave, but apparently that's what happens when you're old. That's what it does. And let's address the elephant that's not in the room. Sissy Boo. Just kidding. She's not an elephant. In fact, she's lost like 37 pounds on the GLP-1 and she looks amazing. She is going to be having a hot girl summer for sure. But we have some artistic differences apparently. And so from now on, maybe she'll be a special guest here and there. But from now on, it's just me. So I don't know. Most of the time I hope I'm going to have guests because it's kind of difficult for me to just sit here and talk into a microphone all on my own. But today I thought what I would do is a story time and tell you guys about the time that I was a bigamist. I didn't know, but I was a bigamist at one time. So my shady past, here's another crazy thing. I want to tell you about being in love, young girls being in love with being in love. I just thought I wanted to grow up and be a wife and a mom, and that's all I ever wanted. My life would be happy ever after, like my mom and dad, who ended up separating in their golden years. You know, nothing is as it seems. Life isn't what it seems. And to be in love with just being in love and trying to fit that round peg into a square hole. I think what I did with my first two previous marriages, I don't think I knew what love was until I met Jeff. I was just starving for love probably, which is why I got married so early. So let me start the story. The story was, I have never been in a relationship longer than 2 years. I've never been single longer than 3 months since I started dating. So put that together. I think that's a lot of men. I think I've been with a lot of men, but whatever. Just trying to find the one for me. That's all I was looking for. And thank God I found him in Jeffy, who is 20 years this year. We've been together and he's the best thing that's ever happened to me. He's my family. He's my family's family. I'm his family's family. We're all very much in love. But going back, I had just broke up with a boyfriend and I moved to Phoenix, Arizona. My sister lived in Phoenix, Arizona. I moved in with her to start my whole life over again, right? I moved the end of 2001, I want to say. I think I got married in 2002. So it must have been 2001, Christmas time. I moved. I was there for, it was Christmas time, and now it's January, and I'd gotten a job. I worked at this job where we drug tested, parole, probation, divorce court, juvenile probation, work, things like this. They were monitored drug tests, urinalysis. So we had to watch them, and boy, were they sneaky. I mean, we had a trophy case full of prosthetics that they would use that would keep temperature, but some were gray and blue. Like, dude, That's obviously a prosthetic. That is not the color of your penis. This is what I do. I'm drug testing people. And I guess this guy walked in. He saw me. It was kind of set up like a DMV, you know. It was on a color code. You'd call this phone number, and if your color came up, each color represented something. So I think like red was once a week, orange was twice a week, green was every day, and you would call it every day. If your color came up, you had to come in before 9 o'clock, which is what time we closed, to drug test. It's set up like DMV. There's like 4 of us, 4 lines, and they're coming in. Then we take them back and watch them urinate. So this one day, I was living with my sister and her 2 kids, and our Christmas tree, my sister still had on the side of the house. I'm at work, and all of a sudden at work, I get a phone call that said our house halfway burned down, and it's mostly mine because I lived in a garage that she had that was converted into a room. And the Christmas tree was right on the outside of the garage. So it burned all my stuff down, all my clothes down, everything. And that next day when I went to work, so here I have no clothes, I have no anything. But the Salvation Army, they came in, they bought us some clothes, and they put us up in a hotel for, I think, 3 days. So the first day that I go back to work after the fire, I don't have any makeup on. I'm just in like jeans and a t-shirt, pretty much what I wore the day before. And that day, this one guy, he was a court liaison, and he came in, you know, periodically. And I'd kind of built a rapport with him. I'd been there for a few weeks. That day, he asked me out, which was so bizarre because I looked like, damn it, you know, I did not look good at all. And he asked me out to lunch. And I said yes. And then that evening at work, somebody answered the phone and they said, Loretta, the phone's for you. And so I'm okay. So I got on the phone and I'm like, hi, this is Loretta. And he said, I'd like to take you to dinner. Who is this? And he's like, I was in there earlier today. I was standing up at the wall. I was kind of looking at you. We did meet eyes, and I'd like to take you to dinner. Do you remember who I am? I said, no, there's a million people in here. I have no idea who you are. And unfortunately, I don't date drug addicts or alcoholics. So people with DUIs, they drug tested there too. I don't even know your name. So he tells me his name, and he goes by his middle name. Well, he tells me his middle name and that, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know. And I'm working right now. I'm really busy. I can't talk. I kind of remembered like making eye contact with this guy who I thought was kind of attractive. But again, don't get me wrong. My taste is, you know, prison jockeys. But I was kind of past that, I thought. So anyway, I did give him my phone number. So I gave him my phone number. And then that night, I'm in a hotel. My sister's in the hotel. The kids are in the hotel. He calls me. We had good conversation. He told me he had salt and pepper hair. I did look up the guy with the first name that he told me. There was someone with that name that came in that day. He was like 57 years old. At this time, I'm like, I think 27, I want to say. I don't know. I was in my 20s. So anywho, I'm talking to him on the phone. He sounds really nice. He says, can I take you to dinner? I'll pick you up from work. And I said, okay. So that would be the next day. Next day, I had a lunch date with that court liaison guy. Well, I went out with him, and he was a braggart, and he talked about everything he owned and he had. I don't really care about money like that. I mean, I like money, but, you know, it's gross. You know, it's cringy. So I didn't like that. And then that night, after I got off work, he was supposed to come pick me up. And I walk outside and I see some guy with salt and pepper hair, and he's like in the parking lot, and he's got the hood up, and he is wrenching on his car. And I'm like, oh no. So I dart to my car. I jumped in the driver's side, and I start my car up, and I'm about to take off, and here comes this a nice truck pulled up and kind of cut me off and said, where are you going? I thought I was picking you up for dinner. Whew. So he was attractive. He was good looking. And I got in the truck with him, and I said, oh, thank God. See that guy over there? I thought that was you. And there's no way. So he was such a gentleman. He was so nice, and he was shy, which I liked confidence, but it was kind of refreshing, I guess, the shyness that he had. And so we went out that night. I think we went to a movie. I don't really remember. It was uneventful. And although he was good looking, there wasn't very much chemistry. I'm a talker. I'm outgoing. I think I'm funny. And he didn't really have a good sense of humor. All he had going for him is he had a nice truck. Apparently, he had a good job, and he was very good looking, I thought. I told him, I said, why do you drug test? He said, I stupidly got a DUI. You can even look it up if you want. I'm not a druggie. I'm not anything like that. I got a DUI. Well, I can forgive that. I've drank and drive before. I was able to forgive that. We were talking that night, I remember, and I told him the house burned down. It's so crazy you asked me out. It was the ugliest. I had no makeup on. I looked like a crazy lady. Here you asked me out. He says, well, where do you want me to drop you off at? And I said, well, you can drop me off at my car when the date was over. And he said, where are you going to go? And I said, well, I think by that time, though, the hotel had run out and my sister was staying with her sister-in-law or something. I said, I'm not sure. I'm probably going to go get a hotel. And he said, no, you're not. You're going to go home with me. I said, no, I'm not going home with you. He goes, well, I'm not letting you, go get a hotel. I ended up spending the night. So we start dating. We are living in Arizona. While I was working at that place, my car got stolen. I didn't know where it went. I came out of work one day and my car was gone. I called him and I told him, I just came out of work and my car is stolen. He said, I'll be right there. He came and got me. I think the next day or two, all of a sudden he shows up at my work with a newer, beautiful forest green Camry. And he said he bought it for me. That was really nice of him. And then he would buy me gifts every week. He was just love bombing me. He was just over the top. Valentine's Day comes and he just buys me all this stuff. He bought my sister stuff for Valentine's Day and just really love bombing. I remember telling my sister, he's really attractive and I love that he spoils me and I love all those things, but there's no chemistry, when he kisses me, I don't really feel anything. We had a talk and I kind of figured, well, here's the thing. I'm always attracted to douchebags and addicts, guys that treat you well. You want something you got to work for. I thought, okay, no, I'm going to break that cycle and I'm going to make this work. The guy really is into me. He's so good to me and he takes such good care of me. Let him pursue me. And continued living with him. After about 2 or 3 months, he did go MIA for a week. I was at his grandma's house. He just left. And I thought that weird. A week later, he came back. He apologized. He told me he's got some weird bipolar issues. I had a friend who had some bipolar issues and he and his wife, it was a challenge struggle. They made it work. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to leave him just because of that. He's so good to me. And so we moved on. We came back to California to visit my parents. He met my friends. He said, I want to live here. He said, why don't you stay here, get set up, be with your friends. I'm going to go back. I'll stay with your sister. I'll keep working. I'll make some money. We can get a place and we can move to the Sacramento area. I can get a job at Tigert or something like that, Tiger's a great union company. I said, okay, yeah, that sounds awesome. Great. And then he asked me to marry him. So now we're engaged. Okay, this is exciting. I get to plan this big wedding. I get to, do all this stuff. I'm with my friends and my family. I'm home. Everything seems, wonderful. Then he moved back. I don't know, timelines are all bad. I have this job in Redding. He moves. We get this house in Fair Oaks. And he's got a job at Tigert, just like he said. He's making money and doing well. But I'm in a lease in my apartment in Redding. He's coming home every weekend, but he's got our apartment there. We're still trying to get money, and we're going to get married in Redding. There were some red flags, I will say. He was very literal. He was very like, sleeping with an enemy kind of thing. He was OCD. Everything had to like face the same direction in the cupboards, just like that guy. He'd do my laundry every single day. I did love my closet. It was so color coordinated. Everything was perfect. Everything was in its spot and tidy and wonderful. That side of him was really good. When I talk, I speak real loosely, so I'm like, oh, hey, did you see that movie? When did you see that movie? I'm like, oh, a minute ago, when it was like 2 months ago, or, I'm just not literal. He is very literal. So he would be like, do you want a glass of water? And I'm like, oh, no, I'm good. You're good? What do you mean you're good? I asked you if you wanted a glass of water. It's yes or no, not, I'm good. I don't even know what that means. And I'm like, I'm good means I don't want one. I don't know what you don't understand about that. So real literal. He drank a lot. We're in our 20s. So every guy I've ever been with was a big drinker. I was not a big drinker. He would get kind of weird. Like his eyes would get weird when he would drink. But all my friends loved him. My family loved him. He went through RCIA and he became Catholic, and my parents were his godparents. He got baptized and communion and all these things that I was like, yes, this is what I want in a husband. So he was checking off all the things that I needed and wanted in a husband, except the chemistry still wasn't even there. I was still going through with it, and I was just in love with being in love. I was in love with the idea of being a wife. I was in love with planning a wedding. I was in love with starting my life finally, what I thought would be my life, and we'd have kids. Everything would be amazing. One time, a bunch of us friends, we all went camping, and we went to breakfast at some place, and one of my girlfriends said, he's flirting with a waitress. I'm not a jealous person. I was very jealous with my first husband, and I think I just outgrew it. I thought it was repulsive and whatever. So she said he was flirting. I was like, whatever, and didn't think anything of it. Well, come to find out, he had gotten her phone number and all kinds of stuff and caught him like that. But here's what's weird. He never got naked in the daylight. He would shut the light off before he got naked and got in bed. We never took a shower together. There was no chemistry. There was no affection. Was odd. It was clunky. I don't even know how to explain it. It was not good. So I remember even asking an ex-boyfriend that I kind of still had a thing for, like, could you stop my wedding? That's horrible, I know. But it's true. And anyway, we got married. We moved to Sacramento. Now I have a job. This is when I started dental. And now my friends that I meet now, they all thought he was creepy. There's something weird about him. He's creepy. So he got on drugs, and no, he was a drug addict, but now he's a full-blown IV using drug addict. I can't sleep all night because I'm scared he's going to come in and he's doing all these weird things. I wanted him out. I wanted a divorce. I kept paying him money to get out. He would say he'd leave and he wouldn't leave. I'm moving out. I'm moving out. I don't want him to know where I live. I'm getting my stuff. My mom came down and she was helping me move. When I thought we had everything out, my mom went back into the house and he was hiding in the house. We didn't even know the whole time he was in there. So my mother wanted to take him back to her house in Redding. He went to work for my dad. I said, Mom, I don't want anything to do with him. I'm done. He had knocked me around when he was on drugs. He was stealing everything. He was writing hot checks, overdrawing the bank account. It was a nightmare. Like, if you've ever been with a drug addict, it was a nightmare. I remember finding a needle, and he kept telling me that he loved me, and I'm like, you love this or do you love me? You need to pick. And he wrestled me, beat me down to grab it out of my hand and left. So it was, oh my gosh, it was a very horrible time of my life. And I just wanted him out of my life. As nice as he was, that's as evil as he was. He had two sides. Really crazy, terrorized me, would call me all day long at work, terrorizing me. Just completely terrorizing me. He went back to my mom and dad's house. I moved into this duplex. He didn't know where it was. Continued my life. Then he calls me and he said, I'm working for your dad. I'm better. And mom's like, yeah, he really wants to see you. And so I drove up there, kind of, not really wanting to, but feeling this obligation because I did marry him. I married him in the church. And I really believed at that time that God put us together when it was under false pretenses. God didn't put anything together. I was again shoving a square peg into a round hole, trying to. So, no bueno. So I went up there and I took him to get a haircut. And when we came back, we were in the bedroom at my parents' house and he tried to kiss me or something. And I said, no, I'm not ready. And he ripped my shirt off of me. And so half of it was on and half of it was ripped. And I came out and I told mom and dad, I said, you guys can keep him. I don't want anything to do with this guy. He's nuts. And you guys think I'm the crazy one and it's him. And I left. Anyway, long story short, finally I paid him. I think I gave him $2,000 and he finally left. He went back to Arizona. I just want him out of state, out of my hair, out of my life completely. I don't even think he was there a couple weeks. He ended up in prison. I don't know what he did. Doing all kinds of crazy stuff. So, I'm a procrastinator. He's in prison. He can't do anything to me. So I didn't even pursue the divorce. I was just trying to live my best life. I'm, learning dental. I have all these new friends. I'm having a good time. Just living my best life. And I dated a little bit here and there. And then I met my husband. That was amazing. We dated for 4 years before we got married. In those 4 years, I'm ready now. I want to marry this man. I know this is going to be the last one. My ex-husband and I, we knew each other 4 months before we got engaged. So this one, I wanted to make sure I don't get a divorce again. We knew each other for 4 years. Finally, okay, I'm ready to get married. Jeff, my current husband, he was always irritated that my last name was still my married last name. He was irritated that I didn't get a divorce, that I was a procrastinator. And he's like, I'm not going to ask you to marry me until you're divorced. He's never been married. He was in a long-term relationship, but they never got married. I hired off of Craigslist a legal secretary who said she does divorces and files them. And it had been so many years now that we didn't own anything together. And he was still in prison. She filed for this divorce. And in February of 2010, I got something in the mail that said it was stamped finalized, right? So I was like, oh my gosh, my divorce is final. My divorce is final. I was so happy. So about 2 weeks later, my husband got me my beautiful engagement ring. We got engaged. We got married on that same year, September 11th, which is the anniversary of the day that we met 4 months before. And we got a $2,500 discount at Granite Bay Golf Club because nobody wants to get married on September 11th. But for us, it was a good thing. We did that. We had the most amazing wedding ever. Anyone that's went to my wedding will tell you it was the funnest one. Artie the Party from Tahoe was my DJ. The dance floor was never empty. It was wonderful. And so life becomes wonderful. Now, I want to tell you that I was really mad at God during this whole period because I got married in the church. I didn't think that I could ever get married again in God's eyes. I didn't know how that was all going to work out. I knew I needed to get an annulment through the Catholic Church. Then after Jeff and I were together, I was being called back. I wanted my relationship back with the Lord. I just wanted my life back and I wanted God back in my life. And Jeff had no idea that I had this relationship with the Lord that I've always had because I was so mad at him. I didn't talk about it. I started telling Jeff and we started going back to church. I wanted to receive communion. I have to get an annulment. We need to get married in the church and we have to do, all these rules, which I don't believe in now. Yeah. So I was going to get an annulment. They wanted my marriage certificate, my divorce certificate. So I found my marriage certificate. And I looked all over and I could not find a divorce certificate. I couldn't find one anywhere. And I thought that was in Placer County. Okay, maybe it was Sac County. Nothing. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I suck it. I'm not organized. So I don't know where paperwork and everything is. So I'm looking all over for this divorce thing that I had put in a drawer somewhere when it came, and I couldn't find it. So they want all this stuff. I go looking for the paperwork. I can't find it. So I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Now, my daughter has met the love of her life. He lives in Florida. She's moving away. We are throwing this big I'm going away party for her, and I'm getting the house ready. We're going to do this piñata. And anyway, I'm like cleaning out the garage or something. All of a sudden, in the middle of the garage floor, is this finalized paperwork that must have come off the top of the fridge in the garage. I don't know. But there it was in the garage, and I pick it up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there it is. I've been looking all over for this. Thank you, Lord. And I go into the kitchen. I don't even read it. I go into the kitchen. I put it in the drawer, and I continue doing whatever I was doing to get this party ready. After the party and everything, I get out of the drawer, and I look, and I'm like, oh my gosh, when I read it. This is not a divorce. This is a restraining order. The dumb legal secretary did not file for divorce. She filed a restraining order. I didn't need a restraining order. The dude was in prison. When he got out of prison, of course he called me and was crazy, man. But yeah, so I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not divorced. By this time, I think I'd been married 6 or 7 years to Jeff. And now I have to tell him he's already mad because it took me 2 years to change my last name. I'm a procrastinator. And now I have to tell him that I'm legally married to him and I'm legally married to my ex-husband. Well, actually, my current husband. It didn't go over well. My husband was irate. But if you know me, I'm not a detailed person. That's what it is. Cool. Why do I need to read it? It doesn't affect me except for our divorce is final. I didn't do anything on purpose, anything like that. Of course, Jeff forgave me. He loved me. But then I had to find my ex-husband. And I got a hold of his sister, and she gave me I gave her my phone number, and he called me. And we talked. And we were kind of talking like friends and everything. And, years had gone by. So I'm like, this is cool. We're talking like friends. No harm, no foul. But I have to let you know that we're actually legally still married. And he had been married, I think, 2 more times after me. Maybe 1 more time. I don't know. But anyway. So he was kind of a bigamist too. So I wasn't that afraid to tell him because at first I was kind of afraid because I thought if he hasn't been remarried, then I'm a bigamist and he could press charges on me. I didn't know the legality of all of it, but because he had already been remarried, I wasn't afraid to tell him. And at that time he was back with his very first wife, which was really weird. And I didn't want to start problems there. I just said, hey, I just want to get this done, finalized. This is what I need to do. I'll pay for everything. It's quicker to do in Arizona. I'll pay for all the paperwork. We'll get the paperwork too. And then you just go down and file it. He said, okay. Well, he didn't. He did. He filed it, but he didn't do it right. And then it got kicked back to me 3 months later. And anyway, it was a long drawn out process. I finally just had it done here in California. We are finally divorced. My husband's very happy about that. But that is a story of how I became a bigamist without even knowing, which is crazy. So, the Bible verse that I want to talk about today is what God puts together, let no man put asunder. But knowing that there's also a verse in the Bible that says all marriages are not of God. So I felt so stuck. I felt so if I'm not with him, which you need to try to make your marriage work at all costs because marriage is peaks and valleys. I mean, if Jeff and I would have given up at all the hard times we had, we wouldn't have this amazing thing that we have now because it took a lot of work on both of our parts, both of us. We had our issues, both of us. But we would forgive each other and we moved on and we would work on it. Because my marriage is of God. We have invited God into our marriage. That marriage was a hoax. It was lies. It it was, again, just us forcing something that wasn't. And so he's got mental health issues, all kinds of stuff. Then I come to find out he cheated on me with a family member on my wedding day. So there's so much. And so I don't have to feel that guilt of not being with him. I know that God is good with mine and Jeff's marriage. We've invited him into our marriage, and this is a real marriage. So I hope you enjoyed my little crazy story. I also want to let you know that my father-in-law has almost died a few times this last couple weeks. And yesterday he got some very good news from his doctor. He's ready to fight. He got some good news. They've got a plan to move forward, and he's moving forward with Jesus. He's fighting for his life and fighting with the Lord. So it's a win-win, however it ends up. But if you could keep him in your prayers, that would be amazing. And he's starting to come back. Amazing. He's the comeback king, actually. I'm going to be interviewing him very soon. He's got a very colorful past, colorful life. And that one's going to be a banger. So until next Sunday, enjoy the Super Bowl. We'll see you later. Bye.
50-something ain't no spring chicken, but Lordy mercy, still a lot of kicking. Got grandkids now, calling me Granny Sue. Life's a-changing in a day, and that much is true. Pissy Sue's here with stories to tell, laughing and crying ain't a bell. Menopause, retirement, and Jesus too. Join the party. What else you gonna